Welcome to the ecoCAD real-time energy monitoring software. What we're seeing here is three plots of power, current, and voltage. And the top meter and the top plot is power in watts. The center meter is current in amps. And the bottom meter is voltage in volts. And as you can see in each meter, we have a needle type gauge. And below the needle type gauge, we have a little box that shows the actual power, current, and voltage numbers. And what we're seeing here is a plot of a previous experiment. This is our data logging feature. And what you can do with this particular software is record anything from about a couple of seconds up to about 8.5 minutes worth of an experiment and play it back in real time. So before anything can really happen, what we first need to do is you need to connect the control panel on the ecoSTEM house to the computer using a standard USB cable. Plug one end into the ecoSTEM house electronic control panel and the other end into your COM port on the computer. Then on the desktop of your computer, here's the ecoSTEM house icon. Double click on the icon. You'll see a logo come up, and while the logo is there, the program is loading in the background, and in a few seconds the program will come up as well. And before anything can happen, what you need to do is come down to the lower left-hand side and notice the connect icon down here. And this is red, showing a disconnected icon, meaning that the program is not yet connected to the electronics on your ecoSTEM house. So what you want to do is simply click on it once, and it'll turn from red to green, and that means you're connected. So now that we're connected, let's do some experiments here. Just briefly, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the ecoSTEM house control panel and turn on some voltage. We're going to actually turn on the batteries, and right now you'll see the batteries are on and it's reading about 4.3 volts, and you can see the plot occurring going from basically 0 to 4.3 volts. I'm going to turn the batteries off again, and you can see that the gauge goes down to 0 and that the plot goes down to 0 as well. I'll turn it on again, and here we are back at 4.3 volts. Now you also notice that we don't have any power or current, and the reason for that is that we don't have a load connected. So to get power or current, you actually have to have a load connected. And in this case, a load can either be the LED lights in the ceiling, or the ceiling fans, or the supercap car, or anything else that's connected through the to the load sections. So I'm going to turn on one of the loads that we have here, and if you'll just notice, there's a slight little dip in the voltage. That's because there's a little bit of a load connected. I'm going to actually turn up the load a bit now, and we'll be able to draw some voltage and current. And as you see, the voltage and current plots are coming up. I'm going to change the load a bit more. Decrease the load, increase the load, decrease the load, and so forth. And you can see the plots following the meters very, very carefully here. All right, let's talk about one of the important features of the program, and that really is the trash icon. Now, the trash icon is nothing more than a reset for the program. And anytime you're confused, certain plots don't look good, you want to just go back to 0 again, click the trash icon. That's all you need to do. And as you'll hear a little bell, and everything will reset back to 00 time. For example, if you look at the plots right now, you'll see that the plot goes back to 0 time every time I click the trash icon. What I'm going to do is turn on some voltage. I'm going to click the trash icon, and you'll notice that it goes back to a 00 time. The voltage is still there, but it goes back to 0 time. I'll turn the voltage off, and now we'll click the trash icon, and the plot starts all over again. Another important feature of the program, probably one of the most interesting, is the record feature. And that is right here in this set of icons, which are a record button, a play button, and a stop button. And down here is a counter to count the number of data points coming in from the control panel. And we have up to 1,000 data points, which means that the control panel puts out about 2 data points per second. That gives us about 500 seconds of recording. And if you translate that into minutes, that's about 8.3 minutes. So we have plenty of recording to do here. And let's give an example of it. First of all, let's click the trash icon. Let's get everything started again. Let's begin to record. I'm going to turn on some voltage. And here's our voltage coming up. This is actually the batteries. And then another thing I'm going to do is turn on a load. And one of the loads I'm going to turn on is one of the ceiling fans. And maybe you can hear the ceiling fan in the background, but now you see the ceiling fan producing a lot of voltage and power up here. And I'm going to turn the load off again. So it goes down to 0. That is, the power and the current go down to 0. The voltage comes up a bit because we're not loading it down. Turn it back on again, you notice a current and power spike and a voltage dip. We'll talk about that later. But as you see as well, the recording is still proceeding. We're at 10, 111, and so forth. All right, I'm going to turn off the load. And let's stop the recording. And we'll stop the recording by hitting the play button. And so now when we hit the play button, everything starts from 0 again, and we're going to replay our little experiment. And as you'll see, the replay goes a little bit faster than the recording, but it's pretty much in real time. And you'll see everything that we've recorded now up to the very, very end, up to around 112, 120, whatever it was. We'll see that come up here in a second. And once it hits the end, like now, it'll just begin to repeat again over and over again. Well, one of the advantages of this playback feature is that we can pause it, just like I did now. So we can actually pause, play, pause, replay. And so what this feature does is gives us the ability to actually freeze the display and look at the voltage, the current, and the power specifically to see exactly what the numbers are. So let's continue along here, and let's say here's a peak, okay? This is where we actually turned the power off, or the load off, and now we see the power go to 0 and the voltage come back up to a non-load voltage condition of, in this case, 4.249 volts. So let's continue. Here we'll turn on the load again. We'll stop it. And if my fingers were quick enough, I'd have picked up the peak there. But here we are just after the peak of the motor fan turning on. And here we have frozen the power at 1.02 watts, the current at 0.274 amps, and our voltage at 3.722 volts. So this gives us the ability to actually play and pause this ad infinitum. So basically you can record an experiment, play it back, pause at any time, and be able to analyze your experiment after you've done it. So nothing is really lost. Now what we want to do too is when we want to go back to real time, right now we're in the play mode, what we want to do is go back to real time is just hit the stop button. You'll notice that the stop button goes back to white, and the play button is also in white, and the record button is the kind of a dim red, but we still have a number down here, 129. And 129 in this case indicates the maximum number of data points that we did for this experiment. And what I'll do too to kind of show you that we're back in real time is I'll turn on the load again, the fan. So it shows you we're back in real time again. So that's our record feature. And anytime we want, we can begin another recording by simply hitting the record button again. So when we do this, our recording starts all over again, and we are able to then record a brand new set of recordings. So finally, remember that to stop a recording, you can either hit the play key or especially the stop key. Now notice this, the stop key is going to go from a white to green to white very, very rapidly, but it'll go from white to green to white. That will stop the recording and put everything back into real time. That's very important. Now, a couple of other interesting icons that we have here at the bottom of the screen are the screen capture, which is an icon that looks like a little flash camera, and the screen view icon. Now, what these icons allow you to do is capture and view instantaneous snapshots of the screen. Let me give you an example. Let me turn on some voltage here. All right. Now let's say we're doing an experiment and we are going to turn on a load as well. We're going to turn on the fans. And I just want to capture this. So I'm just going to click it. You hear the little click? And here's another one. Okay, I want to capture that too. Click that. And here's a third one. I'm going to capture that. Click that. Now I'm going to turn it off again, turn my voltage off and so forth. Now let's go to the right and click on the screen view icon. All right, now what we see here is the last captured image that we have actually clicked on. You notice that this is the last image we clicked on, and what we can do here is go back in time and look at the other images that we actually made. Here's the 3 we had. Here's some from a previous experiment. But here's the one. This is the first one we clicked on, the second one we clicked on, the third one we clicked on. And you can do this as many times as you want. Now look at the advantages you have here for an experiment. You can say, what happened right here? Just click on it. And now all of a sudden that image, which is a JPEG image, is saved on a file. And you can go retrieve that file, and you can take this old image and put it in a report and do this ad infinitum. So you can just keep on clicking and saving and so forth. One of the important things to look for are these little arrows down here at the bottom of the screen. We'll zoom in on them. This is the backward arrow. This is the forward arrow. You'll be able to kind of move back and forth using these arrows. So make sure you can do this. But here's another important thing to realize, and that is this screen, or the captured images, look so much like the real screen, you'll get confused once in a while and you'll think you're back in the program, but you're not. You're still looking at the captured image. So make sure you go back here to the real program. Here I'm going between the images and the program, images and the program. So make sure you're back in the program again, where you can actually do your experiments. And finally, there's a third icon here called the print icon, and I can't show you this on the screen, but if you click this icon, just like a snapshot, you'll be able to print out the screen as it appears right now. For example, I'm going to click on it. Maybe you can hear the printer begin to engage. Well, my printer's not cooperating, so there it goes. All right, so what I've really done here is I have captured, just like a snapshot, the real-time image, and I've printed it out. And so what you can do with these printouts is actually print them out, capture them, and hand them out to the students to make sure that they can actually have something to take and record, and to actually go home and show their parents if they want. Well, that's about it for the ecoCAD Real-Time Energy Monitor program. Just remember, when you're done with the program, come down here to the Connect icon and click it to disconnect first. Otherwise, if you try and just close the program, you will get an error message that says, please disconnect before closing. So disconnecting means coming down here to the Connect icon, close it, and then come up and close the program.